What is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to this show. Hope everybody is good. Injury Armageddon continues as we dive into starts it week number 4. It's going to be a tough one, man, to fill these rosters, to get these top-end point productivity. It's going to be a challenge, but I definitely got you covered. You guys know the deal. Hit that like button. Drop your start sit questions in the comments. I will definitely get back to y'all, and we go rapid fire. Every team, every player. Let's go. Arizona Cardinals taking on the Washington Commanders, the Commies. Okay, and the Cards dropping their contest last week, and I mean, they didn't look great overall, but I'm telling y'all, at this point, it is a good situation for these Cards to get back on the goods versus the Commies. Kyler Murray, low-level risk, 3 boom games. He's looked good, and he's pretty much as safe as they come at the quarterback spot for us right now. James Conner on the mid-level risk. I'm talking bounce back for a James. They kind of went away from that run game last week, and I do believe they're going to rectify that once again. TD upside is always here for James Conner, but I do believe the volume is going to be good and plentiful. Start James everywhere you got him. Trey Benson, not so much at this point. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been dealing with an injury to his quad at this point. He's still low risk, man. He's no signs of suggesting he's going to sit in this contest, so fire him up everywhere you got him. Michael Wilson on the low upside, TD dependent, wide receiver only in deeper leagues if you have to. Greg Dortch, he does get a mid-level risk PPR floor for me this week now that Trey McBride has been ruled out with a concussion. So I believe in 14-team leagues, you can put a Dortch in your lineup, but it is going to be hit or miss in 12-team leagues. And then Elijah Higgins, TD dependent on the upside for the tight end to replace a Trey McBride. I do believe we should see a lot of James Conner and a Marvin Harrison Jr. Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints. Kirk Cousins. Okay, they tried against those Kansas City Chiefs, and I mean, it was close. Penalties always are the issue in the NFL. We saw it on Thursday Night Football, but Kirk's doing more than enough. 37 points. I got him a mid-level risk versus Saints team that didn't look great last week, and I mean, they fell right back down to earth. Kirk at least is starting to feed his wide receivers. Yes, we're still waiting for the consistency in a Kyle Pitts, but Drake London, Darnell Mooney, absolutely on the mid-level risks for me. I believe you can play both these gentlemen this week versus New Orleans Saints. Kirk Cousins for me, basically super flex leagues, or if you have a quarterback injury problem, maybe you can stream him this week as well. He should be able to at least find some ways to good points. Over 15 should come his way. Bijan is dealing with a shoulder injury. No worse for wear. No suggestions that he is going to sit in this contest. Fire him up, obviously, everywhere you got him. And Kyle Pitts on the mid-level, low floor. It is becoming a problem with tight ends. If you got a better option, I would take it, but I mean, a lot of people don't have better options, and we got to continue down the path of hoping for good things from a Kyle Pitts. Baltimore Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a good one, man. Okay, the Ravens, they are 1-2, came back last week, got themselves a victory. Lamar Jackson, low-level risk every single week. He's almost got 70 points. He's doing the business along with a Derrick King Henry, like I said, this offseason. It was a shoo-in being in a run-heavy offense for King Henry to be this guy. 3 boom games, 3 weeks. You got to love what you see from King Henry. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Justice Hill on the mid-level PPR upside. They're going to need some secondary pieces to fill the need here in the receiving game versus the Buffalo Bills, who have played exceptionally well on both sides of the football. Justice Hill definitely does have some PPR upside if you are stuck with injuries at the running back spot. Zay Flowers, mid-level risk. I'm going to green it on a mid-level because I do believe the upside is here. Could catch the Bills napping on that back end, and he could score a touchdown this week. But the Bills do know how to play Lamar Jackson fairly well in their history, and under Sean McDermott, so I don't believe that we're going to see, a plethora of points on the board. But it should be more than enough for Zay Flowers to earn a boom game. Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, high-level risks, not touching it again this week. Mark Andrews, first time this season, high-level risk. I can't do it. What do we do with this man? It is too difficult to trust on a weekly basis. Just not getting the snap counts now, not only just the target share and upside for that. It is not good in this respect, but Isaiah Likely on the mid-level risk. They're going to have to spread out the Buffalo Bills defense, and I do like an Isaiah Likely over a Mark Andrews this week. Buffalo Bills, likewise, taking on those Baltimore Ravens. Like I'm saying on Sunday Night Football, Josh Allen, fire him up. Low-level risk, playing out of his mind right now. All the flowers go to a Joe Brady to simplify this offense, and all the flowers go to a Josh Allen for taking what the defense is giving him. The mantra this offseason was everybody eats, and everybody is eating, man. Just fire up Josh everywhere he got him as he continues. 71 points already. MVP season caliber season is definitely on the docket if he continues this way. James Cook, 3 boom games, 3 weeks. You got to love what you see out of James. Low-level risk, fire him up everywhere he got him. This run game is just humming along. Ray Davis, low upside, not playing that. Khalil Shakir, he is 1 catch away from breaking an NFL record set by Michael Thomas of most receptions of targets, completed targets given to him at 27. If he gets one more, 28 NFL record. Absolutely incredible. This man's hands are like glue. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins. Low floor for a Keon right now. They're starting to sprinkle him into this offense just a little bit more as they're going to separate eventually as we get to like week 6, week 7. Keon should be able to separate from the pack as they get a little bit more. Keon and then Shakir and Dalton Kincaid being the staples of this offense. Right now it's working. Everybody eats. But eventually you're going to see it kind of separate from the pack as we get down the season. Keon, I cannot play this week. It's it's too volatile for me. There is low floor TD upside, but it's way too volatile. Likewise with Samuel and Hollins, you're not touching that in fantasy football. But a Dalton Kincaid I told you all boom game for him last week. He hit us up with good fantasy points. Should do it again this week. PPR floor is definitely there. PPR upside in the green, definitely versus Baltimore Ravens. Carolina Panthers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Red Rifle Andy Dalton brought this Panthers team back to relevance last week. Mid-level risk. Do I fully expect another 25-point showing? No, I do not, especially versus the Bengals. Yes, their defense is not great, and they have been disappointing on a weekly as they are 0-3. They need this to win these Bengals, but Andy Dalton, it's a revenge game. I got him on a mid-level risk. I told y'all last week he's got his retirement is closer than his NFL career continues, so he's just going to go out there and have fun, dissect the defense, and spread the football around. You can fire up an Andy Dalton if you have QB troubles as well. Chuba Hubbard, man, low-level risk. Finally, we see what an offense with a capable quarterback can do. Does not look good for Bryce Young at this point, but I'm telling y'all, Chuba right now on the low-level risk with volume upside versus a Bengals defense that really struggles to stop anybody right now. Miles Sanders got in the mix last week with a boom game, if you can believe it. We can't touch that, though, this week. Even though he's going to be rotating with a Chuba, we're not touching that this week. Deontay Johnson, he's dealing with a groin injury, but said he is going to suit up in this contest. Low-level risk for me. Fire him up everywhere you got him, especially with an Adam Thielen out with a hamstring injury. He's been placed on IR. Not good for an Adam Thielen, but very good for us Deontay Johnson owners. Likewise, with an Xavier Legette, I got him on a mid-level risk. Somebody's got to fill the void, and this rookie is like a Debo clone. He will definitely showcase it with more targets, and he will make a lot of plays. Not sure I'm going to play him this week. I do want to see one more week of him in this offense with more target share to at least uplift his game, but he is definitely on my radar for the coming weeks. Jonathan Mingo, Tommy Tremble, high-level risks. We are not touching it. Chicago Bears taking on the LA Rams. Okay, Caleb, it was a better showing last week. I mean, you got your first boom game, found your boy Rome Odunze on the regular. You got to like what you see. Versus the LA Rams defense, I mean, they do hemorrhage points as well. We saw what Brock Purdy and Jennings were able to do, so you got to believe Rome Odunze and maybe a DJ Moore get back on the goods this week, but that offensive line is so bad in Chicago, it's so difficult to trust what Caleb Williams can't do on the field because of the limitations to the offensive line. Low-level risk start for me. It's on the mid-level potential upside for it, so if you have Caleb, I'm still looking in other directions than starting him this week. DeAndre Swift, high-level risk. They are giving Roschon Johnson the chance at volume this week. Mid-level risk for Roschon due to volume upside. Where DeAndre, we got to fade him at this point. I went on the limb last week and said potential boom game. It did not happen. DeAndre looks slow. There's no burst. It's just not working right now in Chicago scheme-wise for DeAndre Swift. It does look terrible. So Roschon, he did come in the game last week, and he got you 8 points, so maybe it does go over that 12-point threshold we're looking for, and I think he should be a decent fill-in running back this week. DJ Moore, low floor on the mid-level risk. Very hard to trust, 27 points, with Rome Odunze looking like he is the favorite target for Caleb Williams at this point. Mid-level risk. Rome was dealing with some injury this week. He is off the report at this point. So I'm looking forward of more Rome than I am DJ Moore this week if you had to choose between the two. And then Keenan Allen likely coming back from his injury with the foot injury, saying he is a questionable but likely to suit up in this contest, which is a good sign. Potential flex upside here for Keenan Allen does exist, but the low risk, I think they found something here with a Cole Kmet. With 10 receptions last week, I do believe the safety blanket appeal for this rookie to recreate the run somewhat with the tight end, with the short pass is here. Cole Kmet, I like the start this week as well. Cincinnati Bengals taking on those Carolina Panthers. 0-3, man. Joey B, it does not look good, bro. I mean, if you go 0-4 and you lose to these Panthers, I mean, it's going to be bad news in Cincinnati. Don't foresee that happening, but the Red Rifle's going to have a lot to say. Low-level risk for a Joey B because he was able to find a Jamar Chase on the regular. You're firing up Jamar everywhere. You got him anyway, but it was nice to see at least Jamar take over a contest finally. We're low-level risk. You could play Joey B. You play, obviously, Jamar Chase. Zach Moss has impressed me as of late, man. 36.5 points, and they're starting to utilize this ground game a little bit more. It is still a tandem approach with a Chase Brown, but Zach Moss does have the appeal. You can fire up Moss everywhere you got him. T. Higgins on the mid-level risk. He shook off the rust, had some drops last week. Would have gave us a touchdown if he would have caught that damn one in the end, at the end of the contest. Mid-level risk at this point. We drafted him where we did. If you have better options, I may suggest taking it, but a lot of us don't. So T. Higgins for me, mid-level risk with some low floor. Hopefully he finds his way into that end zone. Andre Josevich now again with a T. Higgins back in the lineup. He is TD dependent. Targets will be less, but the efficiency rates need to be high for us to trust. Right now I can't trust it with all the weapons they do have, but he is definitely TD dependent. 31 points because Joey B has got some chemistry with him. So deeper leagues, Andre Josevich can be played this week. Mike Gesicki, low floor in the red because of all these wide receivers that are back. Higgins and Josevich, it does take the bread out of a Gesicki's mouth. Cleveland Brownies taking on those Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders just had a piling of injuries, so this could work out good for these Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, mid-level risk. He's doing enough to keep it okay. He's not doing great. He's not doing poor. But, I mean, mid-level risk versus the Raiders defense that really did struggle last week, and they got a lot of injuries. No Max Crosby means could be openings for a Deshaun Watson and this run game, not only for the play-action pass. Deshaun Watson, you can play him this week as well. Jerome Ford dealing with an injury. Is a knee, but no signs that he's going to miss this contest. Mid-level risk. We haven't seen the big blow-up game from him yet. It's around anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12 points for him at this point. So, I mean, he is a flex option only at this point for me. Amari Cooper, he found his way to the goods last week, finally. Got us a boom game, good upside on the low-level risk. You can absolutely fire him up versus these Las Vegas Raiders. Elijah Moore, we ain't touching it on the high-level risk. Jerry Jeudy, mid-levels, doing enough for that flex. Anywhere from 7.5 to 11 points is not terrible, especially with how bad stats are hard to come by in this NFL right now. Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper are what makes this offense move, especially without a David Njoku, who has been ruled out. Akins, we are not starting this week. Denver Broncos taking on the New York Jets. And okay, the Broncos shock everybody, and they go and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know what the hell that was about, but okay, Bo Nix, low floor on the mid-level risk. He's going to come back down to earth versus Jets defense. You know, playing rookie quarterbacks, the Jets are going to bring the blitz in heavy doses. Low floor, you're not touching that. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, high-level risk. Man, they cannot run the football in Denver, and we are not even coming close to that. Cortland Sutton, I'm going to say mid-level risk. Potential garbage time does exist here, but again, going up against a sauce, it's probably not going to be good for business. Keep Sutton on the bench as we have all season long. Humphrey and Josh Reynolds. I got Reynolds on the mid-level risk. There is potential here as well. It's just not enough offensive punch to go around to trust in fantasy football. Likewise with a Greg Dulcich. I do not like this offense whatsoever, and I'm still steering very much clear of these Denver Broncos, as should you. Detroit Lions taking on the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, doubleheader Monday Night Football. Jared Goff, okay, he's been kind of wavering up and down. I mean, the offense doesn't look as good in the pass game as it did last year, but I think they're going to find their stride very soon. Jared Goff, mid-level risk, but I'm okay with the play this week. Even though the Seattle Seahawks defense is quite attacking in that secondary, I think Goff will be able to at least dissect and find his open wide receivers. You can play a Goff this week. Monty and Gibby, I don't even have to debate this. It's low-level risk. You fire them up everywhere you got them. They have been absolute killers. Both of them 3 boom boom games apiece. Over 50 points for Monty, almost 50 for Gibby. It is a nice situation in this ground game for these Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he is back to good relevance, man. 2 boom games in a row, low-level risk. You're obviously playing him every single week. J-Mo ahead in the boom upside. Especially with Sam Laporta going down with that ankle injuries, he's maybe trending to play, but he could be mostly a decoy at this point. That means J-Mo should see a lot more targets, which could equate to a touchdown. He's going to be likely seeing a lot of with a spoon because the speed matches, no question. But if he gets past this secondary, he will score a touchdown this week. Love me some J-Mo on the boom upside. Khalif Raymond, not so much. And then a Sam Laporta, like I said, on the injury risk. If you do have a different option at tight end, I may suggest taking it, but I will keep you updated in the comments on the health of a Sam Laporta. Green Bay Packers taking on those Minnesota Vikings. Okay, this is a very interesting contest. I mean, Jordan Love, once again, I got him here once again, but it is Malik Willis. If Willis does suit up and you have been playing him in Superflex, fantastic. I think you could do it once again, even though this defense of Minnesota is very stout, and they have proven it so far in this scheme with the Brian Flores. They will come after a Malik Willis, so it's not going to be the top-end points you're looking for. If Jordan Love does suit up, which hedge betting sake, I don't think he's playing this week personally, and I think it's going to be a problem for them, but I think that it is Malik Willis. Caution the play because Minnesota's defense has been playing fairly well, very well, and I think if I'm stumbling all over myself. If Jordan Love does suit up, I actually won't be playing him this week because that knee injury, we got to see it to believe it on the field. Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson. Jacobs on the mid-level risk, Emmanuel Wilson low floor. And they're going to be splitting touches. If Jacobs is not running very well, then Emmanuel Wilson is getting involved in that pass game as well. We got to play a Josh Jacobs on the mid-level. Hopefully he finds his way into the end zone, gets us better than the 12 points he has been giving us, where Emmanuel Wilson only in deeper leagues. Romeo Doubs, mid-level risk. Without a Jordan Love, I still don't like it. I'm going to bench him, but Jaden Reed on the low-level risk. He's seemingly becoming quarterback-proof. They use him in the jet sweeps, and they give him some PPR upside and leverage. 45 points for this man. Yes, okay, without a Jordan Love, the top end point productivity is not there, but he's still extremely solid. Christian Watson, low floor on the mid-level risk. It is somewhat boom or bust at this point. Whether he scores a deep touchdown or he gets some, receptions to come his way, it's going to be far and few between when it comes to a Malik Willis. Dontavian Wicks and Tucker Kraft, high-level risk for me, low floor for a Tucker Kraft. I am not touching these guys without a Jordan Love. Houston Texans taking on these Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, and the Texans dealing with a lot of hurt, man. You got Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, all dealing with some ailment, where we do have Tank Dell likely on the doubtful rather than the play. If he does suit up, I really am skittish of what's going down. Tank Dell just has not come back to the form that we saw last year after that broken leg. So for me, Tank's position does belong on that bench, even if he does suit up in this contest. Mid-level risk for a CJ Stroud. It just hasn't clicked just yet. Will it click? I mean, Stephon Diggs is he goes from the Buffalo Bills and says that the Bills were the problem. He goes to the Houston Texans. Now this offense is broken in Houston. I don't know, man. Diggs, you got to look in the mirror, but CJ Stroud, we got to fire him up everywhere. I'm downgrading him this week only to a mid-level, but this should be the bounce-back game they're looking for. You fire up a CJ Stroud everywhere you got him. Joe Mixon, injury risk on the mid-level. If he does play, you're suiting him up because the volume upside will be there, but they will split touches with a Cam Akers, knowing that Dameon Pierce is still questionable with that hammy. So for me, it's lower end point totals for a Joe Mixon, but if he does play, we got to suit him up. Stephon Diggs on the low-level risk, been the most consistent wide receiver outside of a Nico Collins, but Nico is dealing with that hamstring injury. I got him on the mid-level only due to the injury. Otherwise, it is Diggs, it is Nico, and they are as safe as they come at the wide receiver spot. You can play both these gentlemen this week. If Tank Dell does sit, Robert Woods, Bobby Trees will likely suit in or slot in, but I do believe that would open up the door for a Dalton Schultz on the mid-level risk to see some catches. So if you're scrambling for a tight end and Tank Dell does sit, I don't hate the start of a Dalton Schultz. Indianapolis Colts taking on these Pittsburgh Steelers. Anthony Richardson, oh man, he can't pass the football. I told y'all, you're living and dying with this pass game. And it's going to continue, man. The poor interceptions, the poor reads. You got to hope for the rushing upside. Jonathan Taylor looked great last week. 3 boom games so far this season, over 51 points. JT is an absolute no-brainer. But Anthony Richardson, I mean, if you got him and you drafted him where you did, I understand you're hoping for the best, but without the rushing upside, without the ability to pass a football with high levels of efficiency, look for better options, man. A mid-level risk, you're living and dying on the run game and the RPOs with an Anthony Richardson. Trey Sermon, no thank you. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell. You can't play anybody. I'm sorry. It is a boomer bust for an Alec Pierce. He has been, the most successful so far out of these wide receivers. 39 points due in part to those deep touchdown passes that he has caught. But, I mean, he came back down to earth last week because they are figuring out take away that and make them run the football. I just don't like any of these wide receivers this week, especially versus Pittsburgh Steelers defense that will be coming after him with a TJ Watt and company. Do not like it, will not endorse it. If you guys got the kahunas to play any of these wide receivers, I feel for you because I am not doing it this week. Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Houston Texans. Jags are broken, man. What else can we say? Coach Peterson, he does not look like he's got this ship reined in. Trevor Lawrence, sunshine, does not look good. He looks lost. He's missing throws. He's looking uncomfortable. He's got happy feet. But I still got to give him mid-level risk. He's got 35 points in 3 weeks. It's not terrible. He's given us a decent floor, anywhere from 14 points. So, I mean, at this point, Trevor Lawrence is the low-end quarterback. As soon as they figure out, hopefully they figure it out very soon, but they still look very bad. Buffalo took them to the cleaners last week, and it's going to continue again versus Houston Texans. Big divisional contest. Travis Etienne on the lower stage of booms. He's hit 3 times, but on the lower stage of the boom games. It's still a boom game. 34.7 points, but I mean, he's struggling because he's not getting any support in this pass game. Once Trevor Lawrence does figure this out, we can absolutely see Travis Etienne start to pick up steam big time in this offense. Tank Bigsby dealing with an injury, but should suit up in this contest. High-level risk. Christian Kirk, low floor on the mid-level, went back to him last week versus the Buffalo Bills. He's starting to pick up some flex appeal for me again. Eventually, they're going to get back to basics, but I think a big part of this is the fact that Evan Ingram is not on this field. He is out again with a hamstring injury. So Christian Kirk, definitely on my bench unless you have no other options. Gabe Davis dealing with an injury, mid-level risk. He does have some upside. Hopefully they figure it out, but again, you can't play a Gabe at this point. Brian Thomas Jr., rookie, good upside on the mid-level risk. Was shut down by Benford last week, but I think he gets back to the goods. Even though the defense of Houston is very good and improving, I think Brian Thomas does have himself a day versus this secondary. And Brenton Strange finds some TD upside, but it is in the red. Definitely high risk, high reward if you are looking for that tight end. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Patrick Mahomes. Okay, this offense does not look as high octane and efficient as I had anticipated. I mean, Ray Rice has been the standard and staple in this offense, and that should continue. You can play Mahomes. I understand some of y'all getting off the Mahomes bandwagon, but it's still 16, 17 points. It's not terrible. He's not carrying your clubs, but he's giving you more than enough. If you have better options, fine. If you got like a Lamar Jackson with a Patrick Mahomes, fine. But who else are you playing outside of this? Sam Darnold over Patrick Mahomes? That is crazy talk. But I get it. The points do dictate wins in fantasy football. And if you do have that issue at hand, I understand. We can deal with that in the comments. But Mahomes, I'm still giving him low-level risk. He should be able to bounce back versus Chargers defense. Carson Steele and Kareem Hunt, I'm giving the volume upside to a Kareem Hunt. They need something in this run game. I was not a Carson Steele supporter. Y'all know this. He's a decent running back, but he's a bruiser. He's a ground and pounder. It's not what this offense typically does. Pacheco is a very different runner than it is with Carson Steele, so Kareem Hunt could see a lot of work this week. It is a risk to play Hunt until we see it, but I get it. Injuries are a big concern. If you want to risk the biscuit in deeper leagues, Kareem Hunt definitely could pay off dividends. High risk, high reward. Rashee Rice, like I said, no brainer. Fire him up everywhere. You got a mid-level risk for an Xavier Worthy. It's been 2 weeks since they got back to this rookie. This is the week they got to do it. Spread the field, spread this defense for LA, and get down the field with a Worthy. Juju Smith-Schuster finds himself back in relevance, but that's not playable at this point. And Travis Kelce, everybody knows what the hell do we do with a Kelce at this point. It is strictly boom or bust. I'm calling a boom for a Kelce this week. I think they get back to him quite a bit, feed him some targets, hopefully finds way into the end zone because he does play very well versus LA Chargers. LA Chargers taking on those Chiefs. Like I'm saying, everything's just matching up right now. Justin Herbert dealing with that ankle still. Injury risk, we can't play him even if he was healthy, man. He's only getting us 10 points. It is not working for fantasy football under a Coach Harbaugh. It is totally run the football, and J.K. Dobbins is the biggest benefactor. Start J.K. versus these Kansas City Chiefs. He will likely get you some garbage time as well. Told y'all it was a bust last week to caution it because the defense was so good. Didn't get that boom game. He's only got 2 on the season, but he should bounce back this week, as they do run the football quite a bit. But if Herbie does sit in this contest, I would downgrade him like I have him here to a mid-level risk because they will stack the box. Gus Edwards not touching it. Josh Palmer not touching it. Low upside for these guys. Quentin Johnston, without a Justin Herbert, I really caution the start of a Quentin as well. But, I mean, somebody's got to catch footballs, and maybe garbage time appeal does exist here. Seemingly has fixed his hands at this point. He's got 2 boom games on the season, almost 40 points. It's starting to pick up a little bit of steam, but as soon as Herbie went down last week, we saw no targets going to this man, so definitely caution this one big time. PPR upside for a Ladd McConkey with a Justin Herbert. It's very risky to play any of these wide receivers because the quarterback spot is injured and the KC defense is still very strong. Los Angeles Rams taking on the Chicago Bears. Rams coming back to victory versus the 49ers in supreme fashion. Matthew Stafford looked great. Mid-level risk versus the Bears defense that is up and down. I do believe you can play a Stafford this week with good levels of confidence, not high levels, but good levels if you are in need of a quarterback. Kyren Williams, low-level risk. I mean, I thought without a good, sizable pass game, I thought Kyren would struggle. He is not struggling. He is moving. Almost 60 points. Obviously, he's a must-play every single week, man. Blake Corum still not seeing the field. We're Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Tutu Atwell. And I had some comments last week on Jordan Whittington. They're saying he was going to blow up. I told y'all, you got to earn it, man. No disrespect to y'all. I like some Jordan Whittington as well. But it's just not there yet. He's got to earn his role. He's got to beat out some of these guys. And right now, Tutu is the boomer bust upside play you're looking for. There is risk reward. But, I mean, at this point, Robinson's an afterthought because he's going after the DB1s. It's not going to work. Where Tyler Johnson, he has a PPR floor in the high-level risk. Not liking it. 2-2 is likely your best option when it comes to the boomer bust points you're looking for. And then Colby Parkinson on the low-floor mid-level risk. Until Cooper Kupp comes back, these wide receivers are all secondary pieces. Nobody's going to pull away and be that guy. So Matthew Stafford is going to have to dissect whoever's open and just feed them like the Buffalo Bills are doing right now. Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Cleveland Brownies. Injuries. Okay, head coach Pierce was talking about making business decisions, and the business decision for Devontae is to sit out with a hamstring injury. Huge loss. Michael Mayer is also out. Max Crosby's out. It's not going to be a good week for these Raiders. Gardner Minshew, mid-level risk. Potential lots of garbage time heaping could be had, but they just can't run the football, so Minshew's kind of left to sit by himself. Zamir White, Alexander Madison, if I have to pick one right now, it is Matty. Over a Zeus, low floor on the high-level risk. Madison's got mid-level appeal with volume upside. Only if you're struggling do you play a Madison, because the Browns defense still does defend the run fairly well, but we can suit up a Jacoby Meyers and a Trey Tucker because Devontae Adams is out. I do like the plays of both these gentlemen. Low risk for a Meyers, as he has proven in the past to take a heaping of targets, where Trey Tucker was one of my dudes this offseason. I was telling y'all, as a deep stash. He blew up last week, and he's going to do it again this week. PPR upside on the mid-level risk. I do like the safe floor for a Trey Tucker. Likewise, with a Brock Bowers, they're going to feed him all of Devontae Adams' targets and put him on the low-level risk. Fire up the rookie Brock Bowers everywhere you got him, because he's going to do wonders for our team. Miami Dolphins taking on Tennessee Titans on that doubleheader Monday. Tyler Huntley likely getting the play if Skylar Thompson does sit out. And right now, what I'm seeing is that Skylar may not suit up in this contest. That's why I got Huntley here. High-level risk. You're not touching it. Hopefully, this is a benefit to at least Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle time, because their floor is determined based on what the quarterback does. This sucks for all of us. I got many shares of Tyreek like a lot of y'all do, and I am struggling with you. What do we do? It's unfortunate we have to play a Tyreek because at any given moment, if they figure out just, toss screens, short drags, and let these guys run in the open field, Tyreek can take one to the house at any given moment. Jalen Waddle could take one at the house any given moment. We know this. So Tyler Huntley's a non-play, but Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, I'm going to play Tyreek. Waddle only if you got better options. I would suggest benching him again this week because it did not look good last week as well. So at this point, Tyreek over Waddle is my recommendation. Devin off the A-Chain. Okay, he suffered because of poor quarterback play last week as well, but hopefully Raheem Mostert does come back. He is questionable with that chest injury. If they do ground and pound quite a bit in this contest, and Huntley is capable of running the football in the RPOs as well, Achan should be able to get back at least over a boom game, get you those 10 to 12 points. Hopefully that's going to be the case where Raheem Mostert back on the field to do the 1-2 punch would be a welcome sight to remove pressure off this quarterback. Fire up Achan, keep Raheem on the bench at this point. D. Eskridge, Jonnu Smith. We're not touching any of these guys as well. We got to see what Huntley can do in this offense. Told y'all, man, injury Armageddon, it is not good. And points are going to continue to be left on the field. It is a terrible situation. Minnesota Vikings taking on the Green Bay Packers. One of the best defenses I've seen in the first 3 weeks in a very long time. Minnesota looks absolutely stellar. And then Sam Darnold, and I love what Coach O'Connell said. He's, so many of these teams fail these young quarterbacks where a lot of people believe the quarterbacks fail the team. It's not the case. It is coaching, man. Sam Darnold still is only 27 years of age, and in the right system, he looks like a madman. Almost 60 points, moving this offense, but playing with guys like JJ does help the cause. We can fire up Sam Darnold everywhere he got. And Aaron Jones, going back on the revenge game, low-level risk for me. Love me some Aaron Jones. Fire him up. He's been doing great so far this season. Ty Chandler, not so much. He's got to remain either on your bench or on the waiver wire. He is purely a handcuff. JJ, don't even have to talk about it. If you don't play JJ every week, I don't know, something wrong with y'all, man. But Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison, Addy said he's going to be suiting up this week, came from his mouth, so I'm going to say he's going to be target dependent this week as he shakes off the rust for Jalen Naylor on the mid-level. Has been doing very well. 2 boom games, 32 points. I'm going to play Naylor over at Addison this week once again until Addy gets his football legs back up under him, a little bit of conditioning, and then we could discuss Addy next week. But Jalen Naylor, absolutely in my flex wide receiver 3, is definitely there. And Johnny Munt, high-level risk. He's touchdown dependent, and we are not touching that. New England Patriots taking on the 49ers. Coming off Thursday Night Football, long week off. Jacoby Brissett, high-level risk. He's going to struggle versus these 49ers, even though the Niners do have a heaping of injuries themselves. I do not like it whatsoever. You do not start a Jacoby Brissett. Ramondre Stevenson, mid-level risk. I mean, he busted hard last week, and it could happen once again. I mean, this team is going to be very easy to defend until they get the pass game figured out. Is it going to be Drake May? Is it going to be a Jacoby Brissett? Until they figure out the pass game, Ramondre is going to struggle, and that was going to be my biggest problem coming into the season on drafts, saying, where do we take a Ramondre? I said it's going to live and die with stacked boxes and poor pass play. So for me, I'm going to still bench a Ramondre this week. Antonio Gibson does have a PPR floor. They may do some garbage time appeal, even though, Ramondre as well does have some garbage time appeal as well with some PPR upside. But if the game does get out of hand, they're putting in Antonio Gibson instead of a Ramondre. Tyquan Thornton, KJ Osborne, look in other directions because the pass game cannot be supported right now by a Jacoby Brissett. We're a Demario Douglas. He's on the mid-level risk. He looked good last week. Had himself a boom game. Over 11 points, half PPR, did not dislike his game whatsoever, but a Jalen Polk, low floor, high-level risk. We can't trust any of it at this point. If you're in a pinch and you need somebody, it is Douglas out of the entire group, but I still caution that as well. Hunter Henry, boomer bust on the, upside for, touchdown upside. I do believe it is here, man. Safety blanket appeal is always here for a Hunter Henry. He's coming off a bust game. I do like the play of a Hunter Henry this week versus the 49ers. New Orleans Saints taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Derek Carr and the Saints come back down to earth. It was not a good contest. Bounce back game for a Derek Carr on the mid-level risk. I do not dislike it. They just got out of their way last week. Did not do what made them successful. Keep running the football with an Alvin Kamara, low-level risk, even though Alvin is dealing with hip injury and ribs. You got to obviously fire up Alvin. He's doing extremely well. Where Derek Carr bounced back, I mean, it is a cautionary start, but I mean, all the injuries we do have, especially in Superflex, starting a Derek Carr I don't dislike versus the Atlanta Falcons, even though Simmons and Bates are very good. I might look in other directions. If you can, I would look in other directions. If you can't, I understand. It's not a terrible start, man. Jamal Williams, no thank you. Chris Olave, CO2. Finally came back to what we were supposed to see every single week from CO2. Chris Olave, low-level risk. Fire him up everywhere. You got him. Rashid Shaheed, I got him on the mid-level. 2-boom games. This is the fear, man. Either he's going to hit or he's not, and then the targets don't get him because all they do is run deep 9s and 7s for this man all day long. So if he does not hit, I mean, it's going to cripple your team. This week versus the Falcons, they got to spread the field. They got to keep those safeties back and honest. I think they're going to try a couple shots to Rashid Shaheed once again this week. It is a caution start because it's very much boom or bust. He does not see too many targets to, give him a safe floor. So for me, versus a Falcons secondary that is very much improving, I might keep Rashid on the bench. But, I mean, if you require some high upside, I understand the start. A.T. Perry, Taysom Hill, they are on my bench this week. Where Juwan Johnson, low floor. We're going to have to see somebody else pick up some targets here in this offense from Derek Carr, and Juwan might have a game versus Falcons. New York Jets taking on the Denver Broncos. Out of any team right now that I'm encouraged on, it is these New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers looks good. He looks better, more mobile, more comfortable off the Achilles injury. Low-level risk for me. He's able to find and spread the football around to all of his wide receivers, including his homeboy, Allen Lazard. I do like Lazard this week on the mid-level risk. He's got flex and wide receiver 2 appeal for me all day long. Garrett Wilson's got to pick up his game. We still got to make him a low-level risk. What's happening right now is they have not figured out the back shoulder fade that Aaron Rodgers loves so much. We saw that last week where I think there were 3 or 4 back shoulders that were missed by a Garrett Wilson. Once they figure that out, I'm telling y'all, this is going to go to the moon on a rocket ship because they will eventually figure it out. I guarantee you this week they worked on that probably 1,000 times because of all the drops that, Garrett Wilson had on that back shoulder. Fire up Aaron Rodgers. Fire up Garrett Wilson. Fire up Allen Lazard. I'm totally good with this, even though it is Garrett Wilson versus a Patser 10. He's going to get the better of him from time to time. We will see it. Breece Hall, obviously, no question. You fire him up everywhere you got him. Braylon Allen, volume floor for me. There is TD upside appeal as well. Denver's defense has done very well, but they lost Alex Singleton to an ACL, so the gaping ability of running the football will be here. And, I mean, Breece Hall injured his ACL versus Denver Broncos 2 years ago. I mean, I didn't want to bring it up. I don't want to jinx him, but, I mean, just something to keep in the back of your mind. Mike Williams, high-level risks as he does continue to come back from that ACL injury that he did have. And once he does work his way back, this offense will be very good. And Ty Conklin, mid-level risk, PPR floor. We saw a good heaping of targets come to him for the tight ends, I guess, from Aaron Rodgers. And as the game does go out, Aaron's going to look for his safety blankets and check downs. And Conklin is definitely one of these guys. If you're looking for a tight end, the floor is definitely safe. Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, it hurts big time. Right now, I got A.J. Brown on the starting roster, but he's got an injury that he may not suit up. So we're going to see Jalen Hurts throwing the football to John Dotson, Paris Campbell, and then that rookie Wilson. It is not a good situation for these pass catchers. So what do you know it's going to be this week? Run the football in Dallas Goedert. So Saquon Barkley, low-level risk. You're obviously firing up the best running back in fantasy football right now. Jalen Hurts, mid-level risk. He's going to have to run the football himself quite a bit and dissect to a Dallas Goedert quite a bit. So for me, it's Hurts, it's Barkley, it's Goddard. Those are your fire-ups this week. In this offense, if I had to pick a wide receiver, Smitty's likely not going to suit up. He's on the doubtful due to that concussion. A.J. Brown, they said it's questionable. I'm more on the cautionary side of a doubtful as well. If he does suit up, it's likely going to be a decoy appeal. So Jahan Dotson, Paris Campbell, this is the moment, Jahan. You got to understand, you wanted wide receiver 1 duties. This is the week. If he doesn't do anything, I'm off Jahan. Forever, I'm done with you, Jahan. But Paris Campbell, it's going to be very difficult for Jalen Hurts to find his wide receivers on the regular. Get ready for a lot. Even Kenneth Gainwell, I got him as a high-level risk, but in deeper leagues, we might see a lot of volume going to these running backs. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Good upside in the green for a Justin Fields, and I, for one, am happy to see it. Everyone, I see some people calling him a game manager. Man, watch the games, okay? He is being instructed not to turn the football over. Yes, it's not a game manager that he is and a role that he's playing. It's playing very timid. just to build the confidence in this young man. He is coming back almost 20 points last week, and it's going to continue. The Colts defense does struggle as well. They have some upside when it comes to stopping the run, but they lost to Forrest Buckner, and then it just fell off a cliff. So, they're not going to stop the run. Najee's got a good floor, even though he was dealing with an arm injury. Justin Fields, I'm firing him up everywhere he got him. The rushing upside is here, and he is figuring out how to find his wide receivers. Some of these tosses are big boy throws. And this offense, for me right now, they are doing it very well and purposefully. He's not being a game manager. Don't get this twisted. It's purposefully done so that he builds his confidence, finds what he can do, what holes he can hit, and what windows he can hit, and he's going to continue down this path. Najee Harris on the mid-level. I'm okay with the play this week because the Colts do struggle to stop the run. Cordero Patterson on the low floor because Jaylen Warren is out with an injury as well this week. Cordero, deeper leagues only. I will not start it this week because they have not showcased the fact that they could run the football with high levels of regularity. Van Jefferson, no. Calvin Austin is the epitome of boomer bust. You can't trust that in any situation unless we start seeing more consistency. And then Pat Freiermuth, what I say last week, he's going to give you anywhere from 5 to 6 points. He does it every single week. So, if you're looking for the safe floor in half PPR of 6 points, that's Pat Freiermuth. Hopefully he gets into the end zone this week and can lift that over 10. San Francisco 49ers taking on the New England Patriots. Okay, George Kittle likely suiting up in this contest. Debo, more on the doubtful than playing. He is back on the practice field. And Juwan Jennings, like I told y'all in the waiver wire last week, I said pick him up. He is good stuff. And once again, with Brandon Ayuk still on the field, Juwan's going to see his targets, man. New England's Gonzo, Christian Gonzalez, is going to likely be locked up on an Ayuk, so it's going to be very difficult for Ayuk to get open. For me, cautionary sit for an Ayuk. I understand if you have to play him. I still got a mid-level risk. Anywhere from 8 to 12 points could be coming, but I do caution it where Juwan he's not going to repeat 40 points, but he's going to have a decent game once again. If you got Jennings, this is another week, especially if Debo does not play. If Debo plays, then I'm going to start saying Ayuk could have a better role once again. Very much dependent on what Debo does, if he is going to play or if he's not. But George Kittle off the injury on a mid-level risk would absolutely take some bread out of Juwan Jennings' mouth, as George Kittle is an instant fire up, man. Jordan Mason on the low-level risk, and Brock Purdy, fire him up everywhere you got him as well versus New England Patriots, who are showing signs of what we thought they were. They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. It's the best saying ever. But let's go. Seattle Seahawks taking on these Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. Geno's doing a lot of goods. Just, it's hovering in that almost you're great category. I still like Geno this week, man. Detroit's defense is very good on the front line, but the secondary is beatable at times. Branch is dealing with an injury as well. I think Geno and Metcalf are going to be able to at least move this football. Which week is it? Geno Smith for me? Yes, you can fire him up. Kenneth Walker III. I'll get to those wide receivers in a second. Almost jumped myself there. But Kenny Walker is practicing. He is on the questionable. But even if he does come back, I still believe this is Zach Charbonnet week once again, as he's been doing very well. 50 points for Zach Charbonnet. Extremely well. 3 boom games. So even if Kenny does suit up in this contest, I think the upside volume is going to go to Zach over Kenny. So play Charbonnet over a Walker. Where Walker, you're trying to get him back in your lineup, just be expecting the potential for lesser volume as he recovers. DK Metcalf, low-level risk. You play him everywhere you got him. But this is the situation I almost jumped to. Who do we play, man? Tyler Lockett or A. Jackson Smith-Njigba? It's so difficult. Last week was Lockett week. This week, we got to say it's JSN week. I'm firing up JSN over Tyler Lockett, and you watch, they're going to disappoint me once again. This is the hardest wide receiver core to judge every single week, but I'm telling you all the trends and how I mark this. It is 1 week Tyler Lockett, 1 week JSN. So this week we're going on the notion that this this reporting is going to go the same way. JSN for me, and Noah Fant coming off a boom game, high level risk. I am not touching it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Took one in the face. Maybe they overlooked the Denver Broncos last week to a loss, and I absolutely believe that's what occurred. Baker Mayfield, mid-level risk. They're going to get a lot more, opportunities on the offensive side, especially if an A.J. Brown is not going to play. Tampa, you got to believe their defense isn't stellar, but at least without the weapons, they're going to be an easy defense. Just stop the run as much as you can, and that should give Baker some more opportunities on the offensive side. Mid-level risk for Baker. I like the play this week as well. Bucky Irving is dealing with an injury, injured his hamstring in practice this week, so that would uplift a Rachaad White to play in the PBR upside once again. I do like Rachaad White over Bucky, only due to that hamstring injury, unless he's cleared 100%. Then we're talking split touches once again. Mike Evans on the bounce back, mid-level risk. Fire him up everywhere you got him. Chris Godwin is absolutely stellar. Fire him up everywhere you got him. And then Jalen McMillan, he's dealing with an injury, just tweaked it on Friday, a hammy as well, so injury risk. He may not suit up where Trey Palmer would be installed right back to where he used to be. And then Cade Otton, high-level risk, not touching it either. Tennessee Titans taking on the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football. Will Levis, he's becoming, every single week making more and more creative ways to turn the football over, Will, and I just don't like it. High-level risk. We're not touching it. But Tony Pollard, for me, get back to business. First 2 weeks, they ran the football exceptionally well. Tony Pollard looked great, and then they went away from him last week. Did not like it. Miami is going to struggle, especially with the quarterback position, so they will give Tennessee the football over a few more times. Run the football with Tony Pollard. Get this defense honest. I like Tony to have a boom game on the low-level risk, man. Tajay Spears was dealing with an injury this week. Mid-level risk for me. I do believe they will try to run the football to control some clock as well, and then hopefully find their way into the end zone. DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, mid-level risks for me. Where DeAndre finally saw good stats last week. It came at the expense of a Calvin Ridley. Will Levis cannot support all of these wide receivers, so it's going to be like a Tyler Lockett JSN situation. Who can we play this week, Calvin Ridley? I mean, you got to believe DeAndre is going to see a lot of Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they've both seen better days, but Ramsey on Hop, I got Calvin Ridley this week on the mid-level. Tyler Boyd and an Okonkwo, I am not playing this week. Do not like it. Last one, Washington Commanders, the Commies, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Absolutely love the Commies, man. This is something coming in the making. I was last year, even with Sam Howell, I said I like what they're building. Now it's coming to fruition. Jaden Daniels, low-level risk. Fire him up everywhere you got him. He is playing lights out. Finally was able to throw the football down the field. They took the shackles off. Likewise, what I'm saying with Justin Fields. They're trying to protect his confidence. They're doing the same thing to a Jaden Daniels. And now all of a sudden they open it up with a Terry McLaurin. Now we're going to see this offense move in the right direction. Jaden Daniels, absolutely fire him up. Brian Robinson, no Austin Eckler dealing with a concussion. Brian Robinson should take a majority of the volume in this backfield. Jeremy McNichols, okay, not good enough for me to start in fantasy, but Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry is back. We can play him this week. I got a mid-level because it might come back down to earth just a little bit as they continue to figure this offense out, but I do like it. He's back on our radar. Start Terry McLaurin this week. Noah Brown, PPR floor in deeper leagues, absolutely is here. 7 points is now your floor for Noah Brown, and I do believe this role for his is going to continue to expand as a Jaden Daniels does get more comfortable in that pass game. Diami Brown faded this week, and Zach Ertz, mid-level risk, gives you about 6.5 points per week. You can do a lot worse at the tight end spot. But there you have it. That is starts it week number 4, baby. And we are going to get these wins. It is a grind right now. So many injuries, lack of point productivity. I understand, but we will get there. I'm telling y'all, keep following the advice. Drop your start say questions in the comments. I will definitely get back to y'all and help you out in this cause. Let's get these dubs, man, as we go into week number 4. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments like I'm saying, and give me your thoughts. And we'll see you next time. I am out.